Okay, so some of our more advanced users are going to want to look at how we can manufacture this using our CNC machine. So I'm going to take a look at this bottom piece here, which is the most CNCable part of this product. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that bottom piece, which we don't need. I'm going to turn off the bodies for the top. So I'm just left with this. The next thing I want to do, which is a bit different than what we've done in the past, is set up a new piece of stock for this. To do that, I'm going to create a sketch on top, like so, and I'm going to draw a rectangle, which is representing the piece of wood that I'm going to use. Now for this one, I'm going to use it a fair bit larger than the material that I'm cutting from, and that's going to give me a bit of space to clamp this sucker down. So I got 75 mils there, and we can probably do 150 across the top. So I've got lots of space around my material. Now you can see that this is not centered on that wood. So I'm going to go D for dimension, grab the center point of that ellipse and the edge here. So that's giving me 48, but I want it in the middle. So I'm going to click on this one, which gives me D22, which is that dimension, divided by 2. And that's going to center it that way. And if I come this way, same thing, D21 divided by 2. And I get D21 by clicking on that other dimension. So that centers that up. I'm going to go finish sketch, extrude, click on all this stuff, and I'm going to bring it down 13 mils because this piece is 13 mils thick. So 13, and I'm going to set it to new component. You'll see the other piece is still sitting inside. We go OK, and now I've got a piece that I can toggle on and off for that material. We'll just leave it like that for now, and we're going to go up into manufacturing. So design, manufacturing. So now we're into the space for making the part, and I need to make a new setup using that piece of material I just made. So I'm going to go setup, new setup, and you can see that I'm getting this crazy big box. Now this is representing the whole project, not just that little piece that I'm working on. To fix this, I'm going to go to stock, from solid, click on that box, and you'll see that that scales it back in. I go to setup here, and you can see that my Z, X, and Y are all out of whack. So I'm going to change my coordinate system from model orientation to select Z and X plane. And now I should be able to come in, there's my Z plane, and it automatically snapped to center, which is perfect. And then my model that I'm going to use, if I click on model, is that one there. So I've got everything selected. I go OK, and that's my new setup. Now I don't want to see my stock body here anymore, so I'm going to go to model, unsaved because I haven't saved this yet, and that's going to turn off that last component. So now you can see the silhouette of the stock showing up. So from here I need to start making some tool paths. So we'll start by 2D, a 2D pocket, and we're going to select my tool here and set up an end mill to do this. So in the new system here, we want to go local library, which gives us tools that we've set up ourselves. Now, just looking at things I've set up before, I have 2 mil, 3 mil, 50 mil. So nothing here is what I'm actually going to be using to create this. So I want to go plus, which is going to help me make a new tool. I want a flat end mill, like so. My cutter, flat end mill, good. Millimeters, good. I will be using a 2-flute end mill. It will be carbide. Most of our tooling is carbide. And it's going to be 4 mils in diameter. Shaft diameter. My computer's maybe a bit funny here. Overall length. It's about 20. Most of these numbers actually won't matter for the work that we're doing because we're not going super deep into the work. So that's 20 as well. I'm just going to set everything at 20. There we go. So that gives us that our flute length though is going to be 10 because it's a bit shorter of a bit. So that's all set up. So shaft, don't really need to do anything here. Cutting data though, Our spindle speed for this bit, we're going to max out on a machine, and that's 19,000 RPM. As you go down, you'll see you've got cutting feed rate of 1,000 millimeters a minute. So it's a meter a minute that bit's traveling. And we can leave this at 1,000 for now, just because it's our first real thing. So I'm going to set spindle speed here to 19,000. So spindle speed, ramp spindle speed. As it's cutting 0.026 millimeters per tooth as it's spinning around. It's a bit slow, but that's okay. Yeah, and all our feed rates are fine. If we were cutting metal though, we would turn this way down. So for metal, you'd be looking at trying to get a feed rate of 0.01, not 0.02. For cutting wood though, I could actually ramp this up to like 0.05 or 6 on that feed per tooth. Cool, so from there, we find where the bottom of the window is and go accept. So now I've got that nice new bit. Select that and you can see the tool bit showing up here. So the next thing I want to do is come in here and select my geometry. So I'm going to click on that inside edge and you can see that it's going around marking that out. My heights, retract's fine, so that's how high the bit's going to go if I go this way. So retract height is that high one there, so that's going up and above my clamps. Sorry, clearance height. Retract is this one, so it's just clearing above the stock. Feed height is the top, top height, go down here, is 0, so it's that plane there. And bottom height is selected contour, which is that line we selected. Move this back into that orientation. Passes, so I'll take a look at this. I'm just roughing this out. You're never going to see this inside surface, so I'm going to uncheck stock to leave. So we're going to cut right to the exact size we want. But I am going to go multiple depths because it's a 4mm bit. I'm going to set my depth at 2 millimeters, meaning that it's going to cut down 2 millimeters at a time. And my linking, this is how it starts. Specifically, we'll get down to ramps. I want to change the ramp to just plunge. We're dealing with wood, so we don't need that delicate ramp that we'd have with metal. All of that, I'm going to hit OK, and we're going to see what that tool path looks like. And you can see now the tool's gone in and it started cutting this out. If I come up here to simulate and I turn on my stock so you can see that material and hit play, you can see that the tool's gone and it's cut all of that out. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to close that and we're going to start making the next tool path. So I'm going to go 2D pocket again and I'm going to try to do that little space there. Now it should have already got my bit. Good. Most of my settings should have held over, but stock to leave did not. And we're going to set that step down to 2 again. And we're going to set this back to plunge. And we're going to go OK. So now it should cut out that little space there. And you can see that the tool's gone in and cut that out. So the next one is going to be this space here. So again, it's just another 2D toolpath. So we're going to go 2D pocket. There's our next one. The difference here, so let's check our tool. On our heights, the bottom height, I'm going to change it to selection and come in and grab that face on the lower bit. Because the contour I selected is at the top, it's not going to cut in all that way. So by selecting that new top height, it can cut into that space there. I'm going to uncheck stock to leave, multiple depths again of 2. That should be all good. Oh, and our linking, we'll set to plunge because this is going to be wood. Just minimize that. And we'll go OK, and it should pocket that out as well. So you can see there's the pocket toolpath cutting that out. Now it is above the stock. I can change that in the settings, but I'm not too concerned right now because this is the first piece that we're going to be doing. The last one, we're going to come back again, 2D pocket, and pick that very bottom contour. It'll pre-select our bit again. our heights, because I selected the contour at the very bottom, I'm okay with that bottom height. But you can always just check it, go around, see where it's sitting. Passes, multiple depths, 2 mil, and no stock to leave. And linking, we want to plunge. To that, and we'll go OK. And that should cut out that last bit. If it can't mark it out, we might actually have to change the tool bit to get down and in there. So, and it looks like, what's our warning? Empty toolpath. So I'm just going to go on this and edit again. It's because it's a 4 mil bit and a 4 mil slot, and sometimes it doesn't like to do that. So I should be able to change my bit. And so just looking at my local library here, I don't have a 3 mil flat one, so I'll go new, flat end mill again. This one is going to be a 2 flute 3 mil. And so that 10. And length below holder 20. See if that makes it happier. 20. And the last one is 10. Doesn't like that. We're going to go back to 20. All right, so there's our tool bit all set. Oh, and it's going to be carbide. And we're going to be cutting again. 19,000. Not 190,000. 19,000. And 19,000. And accept. And select. And OK. And it should, so you can see there now it's regenerated that tool path for that smaller bit, which is fine. Tool changes are a bit of a pain, but it's okay for what we're doing here. So we've got that done now, so we can take a look at our final tool path, which will be to cut this outside piece out. To do that one, we're going to come back to 2D, but this time we're going to use a contour, and that's for an outside edge. I'm going to click the bottom edge here, because that's a nice round contour and it's going to not go around this part here. Tool bit, I'm going to switch it back to that 4 mil tool bit. If you really wanted, you could do another tool change in here, but trying to avoid tool changes as much as we can. I am mindful though that I've got this set at a 13 mil piece and I'm using a 10 mil flute length. Not ideal. But again, this is something that we would modify when we got back into the school, just to make sure we've got the right tooling. So I've got the contour, I've got my bit set, got my geometry, my heights. So that all looks good. Bottom height is the selected contour. Passes again, multiple depths. We're going to go 2 mil again. And our linking, we are going to go, okay, so it's going to be fine on this one. That's all good. And the one thing that I forgot, so this doesn't, we don't want this to blow off the table as the bit's going around. So I'm going to click on tabs, and you can see how that automatically generated tabs going around. Those will hold the material down at the table. I'm just going to leave those as is and go OK. And you can see now I've got that tool path going around. If I come back to actions and simulate, it's only going to do the one tool path, but you can see, you go around, I'll speed that up a bit. And there's our last tool path with those tabs inside. If I go close and just select setup and go simulate again and play, this time it's going to do the whole thing for us so we can see what's going on. So that's pretty cool. There's our piece that we'd flip over like that and have a nice wood piece for that sign. Cool. I'm going to close it there. There's a few more steps before this can go on the machine, but we don't want to really do those until we get back into the shop. So there we go.